I shot a fierce look at the woman who had aided my wife in her affair. "What's your deal?" I snapped. "I thought we were friends. We had an agreement on what infidelity meant, but now, just because he's some celebrity, you think you'll just get over it? I always thought you were a bit clueless, but it turns out I underestimated you. Do me a favor and never speak to me again. If I'm in trouble and you see me, just keep walking. I'd rather die alone. Get out of my sight." She looked bewildered. I had never addressed anyone in our circle like this before. As I started to leave, a massive bouncer blocked my way. "Is the night already over?" I growled. He grinned, clearly intoxicated and confrontational. "Why don't you head back to your table and enjoy some drinks?" "I'll make sure they're on the house." I fixed him with a cold stare until he began to look uncomfortable. "How much is he paying you to step in?" I asked sharply. "It better be a lot, because if you don't get out of my way right now, you'll need every cent." His eyes widened in surprise. "You think you can intimidate me?" "I'll handle you with ease." "Maybe so," I retorted, "but here's the deal. I don't play by the rules, and I hold grudges. If you lay a hand on me, make sure you finish the job because I won't hesitate to come after you. You'll have to watch your back forever. Maybe I'll even hire someone to end your career as a bouncer. If I can't reach you, I'll go after your family. So, make your choice. Move." He seemed oblivious to the gravity of the situation as he backed away. It was almost amusing, considering he was at least 6 feet 5 inches and 300 pounds, while I stood at 5 feet 11 inches and 180 pounds. He had a superior build, but I had something he lacked: raw, uncontrollable fury that couldn't be matched. I was nearly at the door when someone grabbed my arm. I clenched the hand and spun around, pulling the person with me. When I saw it was Hannah, I let her go. I was about to walk away when she clung to my leg. "Don't do this. Think about your kids," she begged. I gave her a scathing look. "You mean like she did when she sneaked out with that idiot? As for family, I don't have one anymore. I'll always be there for my kids, unlike my ex-wife. Maybe I'll file for custody in the divorce." Her behavior today proves she's an unfit mother. Hannah released me and covered her mouth in shock. I reached the elevator when another voice called out, "Greg, think about this. Are you really going to throw away 10 years for one night?" I turned to face my former friend and his group. "I didn't throw anything away." "She did." I challenged them. "Look me in the eye and tell me you think what she did was acceptable. Tell me that if your wife did the same, it would be all right." "Poops. Sorry, Alan," I continued. "That ship has already sailed. You know she's still seeing him, don't you?" Alan glanced at Clara, who hung her head and walked back to the clubhouse. With the others arguing, I slipped into the elevator. Packing was quick. I left Sophia's things behind. If she wanted them, she could come get them. 30 minutes later, I was discharged and reached the parking lot, only to find my friends waiting for me, arguing with Max, who was blocking my car door. "Move, or I'll have you sprawled across the lot before I even start the car," I warned. Before Max could respond, I punched him in the gut. None of them were fighters, but I definitely was. Back in my teenage years, I had a notorious temper and got into my fair share of brawls, even landing myself in trouble with the law. Counseling helped me get a handle on my anger, but at that moment, I couldn't care less. I jumped into my car, shifted into gear, and sped off, sending them scattering like quail. I didn't know where I was headed or what I'd do next. She'd been gone for almost an hour, likely with him. I wanted to track them down and leave them battered, but that was probably out of reach. He was a top tight end for the local pro football team, crucial to their championship hopes with his new $16 million contract. His house would be locked up tighter than Fort Knox. I wasn't a martial arts expert or a former Navy SEAL. I was just an average guy in decent shape with no access to wealth or influential connections. As I sat at a stoplight, an idea struck me. If I followed through, there'd be no turning back. I pulled up to a late-night diner with free Wi-Fi and began formulating my plan. Social media seemed like the perfect avenue for revenge. Sophia had accounts on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I wasn't particularly tech-savvy, but my 18-year-old niece was. She had just graduated high school and had scholarship offers from Ivy League and technical colleges. I called her, and she was surprised to hear from me so late. When I offered her $500 for her help, she was intrigued. Before I could tell her my location, she texted back, "Got it, Unc. We'll be there in 7 minutes." I wondered who Weave was, but as long as she was coming, I didn't care that I went inside the diner and asked the waitress for a quiet booth away from other patrons. I then asked, "You close at midnight, right?" She nodded. "How many customers do you expect after closing, and what would a good tip be?" "Two of my friends are coming soon, and I'd like the place to stay as busy as possible. Tell the owner I'll cover any lost profits if we can use the place for an hour or two, plus $200 for you if you keep the sodas and coffee coming," she grinned. "It's the end of February and freezing outside. Anyone who came in is either staying put or already home. I'll close now. I own the place. Give me $43, $200 for me, $200 for the cook, and a tip. Need anything else before I send him home?" Just then, my niece walked in with a guy. She looked much different, more put together. I quickly apologized. "Sorry, everyone. If I'd known you had plans, I wouldn't have asked. My requests might seem a bit wild, but hear me out and let me explain what happened." When I finished, Elise hissed indignantly, "So your wife, my aunt, ditched you at a club to spend the night with some superstar, and your friends covered for her? What kind of people are these?" "They're actually her friends from high school and college," I explained. "She was ecstatic when my company moved us here. She couldn't wait to leave Chicago. I thought we shared the same values, but I was wrong. We're no longer friends. Let me tell you what I want to do, and you can tell me how bad an idea it is and what trouble I might land in." I laid out my plan, and Max and Elise burst into laughter. Once they settled down, Elise asked Max to fetch the black box from the car. It turned out to be an unregistered laptop she had modified. "No one will trace this," she said confidently. "I can call stations worldwide without holding for more than a second. I've been perfecting this since I was 13 and kept it a secret until I could patent it. That's why all these schools are after me, and the military offered a lucrative deal to skip college and work for them." Elise set everything up, asking a few questions along the way. "Got it," she exclaimed, showing me my wife's Facebook screen. "I'm in. Let the chaos begin." They scrolled through Sophia's posts, asking about various people while Elise took notes. When a photo of Sophia's best friend with a mysterious guy appeared, I almost lost it. I handed Elise the names of my so-called friends who had been with us, and she quickly pulled up their accounts. With a sly grin, Elise looked at me. "Ready to see what DK's been hiding?" "Let's make it as outrageous as possible." Max paused, then asked, "Are you absolutely sure about this? Once we start, there's no turning back." "You're about to throw a grenade into your marriage, I'm sure," I replied, my voice steady. This whole situation has consumed my thoughts. There's no way I could ever be with her again. She threw the first grenade, so I'm going all the way to DEFCON 4 and considering nuclear options. Elise started typing, pretending to be Sophia. Exciting update. I've officially joined the CCC, Celebrity Club. I'm with Jordan, who has an amazing tight end and knows exactly how to use it. So proud he picked me. Thanks to my girlfriend for covering for me with my husband while I slipped away. I've done the same for her before. Remember that girls' weekend in Atlantic City? You scored with a hockey player who really knows how to score. Huh. Elise peppered the post with smiley faces and continued, "Right now, we're taking a break at halftime, but we'll be starting up again soon. Hopefully, it'll go into overtime." She then forged messages from other women at the club, congratulating Sophia and expressing eagerness for their turn with Jordan. Hannah scolded her husband for being a pushover, stating that he didn't have to be rich, just capable and lasting more than 5 minutes. Despite it being nearly midnight, Elise posted pictures of Jordan and Sophia. Notifications started buzzing as people saw the posts, and I could imagine phones lighting up in her social circle. Elise then moved on to Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I wasn't concerned about my wife getting calls. She probably had her phone turned off and wouldn't be bothered. Comments began pouring in. Is this a joke? I bet your husband doesn't find this funny. What's going on with you? This was from her favorite aunt. I wondered why she was still awake. Elise replied, this is no joke. I saw an opportunity and took it. How many people can say they've slept with someone famous? If you don't believe me, come by his house tomorrow at 10 o'clock, 130 Wyndham Circle. It's a mansion. Maybe you'll catch a glimpse of my walk of shame, or fame. Another commenter, who I didn't know but had over 700 friends, added, really? You're proud of leaving your husband? Do you think your marriage will survive this? Sophia responded, I love my husband. He'll get through this. There might be some hardship, but I'll spoil him and he'll forgive me. It's just one night, and I'll never do it again. Really? Came a skeptical reply. Are you drunk? Did you ever think you'd do this the first time? You're delusional. I'm done with you as a friend. Don't contact me. I hope you still think it was worth it when the sun comes up. It might be all you have left. I recognize the name. It was her boss's wife. That gave me another idea, and Elise posted everything on the company's page. Sophia would have some interesting conversations on Monday. Another comment came in. It's all nonsense, isn't it? If you think this is funny, you're wrong. Every word is true. We're going to be fine. I have faith in my husband. How could he ever believe in you? Someone replied. The only explanation is you were hit by a Martian. I've seen some bad decisions, but this one tops them all. It's almost Darwin Award level, usually leading to a tragic end. Maybe the demise of your marriage will vindicate you. I'm with Naomi. I'm done with you. Don't try to reply, or you'll be blocked. God help you. This was from Sophia's first cousin, who lived in another state. I wondered how long it would take for the extended family to catch wind of this. Elise looked sad. She'd always had a soft spot for Sophia. You're destroying her, tearing apart the foundations of her life. Are you sure you don't want to stop? Not yet, I said. I've got a few more things to do, and then I'm done with her. Literally, we sent messages to the team's website, the NFL office, its charities, the mayor, the city council, and anyone else we could think of. Elise flooded Instagram and Twitter, and posts and comments started rolling in rapidly. Then she located Jordan's accounts and did the same. He was seen as a model athlete involved in the community with 2 charities and constant volunteer work. The team and the league adored him. It was time to hit him where it hurt. Max tracked down a sports writer who had a known grudge against Jordan. Although the writer was irritated at being woken up, he calmed down when I explained the situation. Max used a voice scrambler to make me sound like a woman. Stop whining. I'm giving you a story. Jordan is with a married woman right now. She was with her husband when Jordan pulled her out of the club tonight. Talk to the bouncer if you don't believe me. Her name is Sophia Miller. She's been married for 10 years and has 2 small kids. So much for the NFL poster boy, huh? Later, we discovered the sports writer was furious because Jordan had pulled the same stunt on him. He and his wife had just reconciled after a separation. With the off-season and local sports being slow, the story was particularly juicy. We also sent letters to local TV stations and newspapers. I doubted it would amount to much, but Jordan was well known and popular, and the media would likely take an interest. By 6 a.m., 2 vans, a reporter, and paparazzi were parked outside his gated neighborhood. By 8 o'clock, someone from the team or central office was pounding on his door. He answered in his robe, with cameras zooming in behind him. Sophia, also in a robe, was clearly visible. The cameras clicked furiously. Jordan's eyes widened at the sight of the reporters, and he slammed the door shut. The man must have told him the whole story because Sophia immediately checked her Facebook page. The house was secure, but her scream was audible even outside the gate. She tried to close her account but found it locked. Elise later counted over 3,000 comments across all media platforms in the first 6 hours. Sophia had never been in the spotlight like this before. By 10 a.m., they finally left the house. Sophia kept her head covered, but it was clear who she was. I was taken aback by the level of media attention, but given his fame and the slow news weekend, it made sense. She climbed into a stranger's car, and he drove off, taking the same route past the paparazzi who had managed to get a clear shot of her. The driver took her home, and I couldn't help but wonder what was going through her mind now that she was alone. I picked up the kids from the babysitter and brought them to my parents' house. It wasn't surprising to see her parents there. We were all close, and both mothers were Facebook friends, so they were aware of everything. But she wasn't alone. 4 cars were parked outside her house, and now the media had her address. Sophia jumped out of the car and dashed to the front door as questions were thrown at her. Were she and Jordan an item now? Had she left her husband for him? Did her husband approve? These questions, especially the last one, became a common refrain over the next few weeks. When I spoke to her family, the stress was palpable. We know what she did. Everyone in the southern half of the country knows. We also know that wasn't really her on Facebook. Based on her actions, she's not that clever, but she wasn't suicidal. How could you do this to her? Ask her the same question and let me know her answer. I had no plans to keep the kids from her, but I needed a few days for things to calm down. I stayed in a rented room, one we had used during our affair. The receptionist gave me a strange look but handed over the key for 3 days. It was almost ironic to run into old friends checking out as I made my way to my room, fueled by adrenaline and rage after being awake for 30 hours. D rushed over to me. You're a fool. Do you have any idea how much you've hurt Sophia? All of this was for nothing, just a fantasy she wanted to live out. She would have been the same when she got home. No, she's damaged, I replied. When something's damaged, I have 2 choices, fix it or discard it. Sophia has wrecked our marriage beyond repair, and it's not worth the emotional cost to try and mend it. So, you admit you had dinner and danced with that hockey player, even if you didn't sleep with him? It was a chance to fulfill a fantasy, wasn't it? Your husband will be upset if you tell him, but you can't get him to forgive you. As her group backed away, her husband stepped forward at the mention of the hockey player. I'm going to kick your, I told the bouncer. I don't fight fair, I fight to win. I punched him in the hip, and he writhed in pain. I glanced at the cameras in the hallway. It's all on tape. Your attempt to attack me in my defense will be a life lesson for you. Focus on what you're going to do about your wife. Turning to my former friends, I added, remember this for the rest of your lives. I'll probably be divorced soon, but I bet I won't be the only one. Think it over and make your decision. I'd wish you luck, but honestly, I hope your lives crumble just as spectacularly as mine did. Despite my requests and demands, I never stayed in the old house again. Sophia was furious at first, not grasping why I was so upset. To her, it wasn't a big deal. She discarded me in the worst way and then spent the night with a stranger. But that was in the past, she thought. It was time to move on. After all, he was famous. She wanted to get back to normal. The truth was, she had been infatuated with him since our days in Chicago when he played for the Bears. We used to watch the games together, and she even bought a charity poster of him. It must have felt like a dream come true when he asked her to dance. When she realized I wasn't coming back, she became enraged. Sophia was furious when served with divorce papers citing infidelity. She resorted to every threat imaginable, but I remained steadfast. She begged for mercy, but I had none to give. She barely kept her job. It was a close call, and it took a while before her colleagues even acknowledged her. We were ordinary people, but her fling had turned us into a spectacle. The paparazzi got to the bouncer, who spilled everything for a price. There were at least 3 other incidents at that club. Jordan liked to party. I bet he regretted not signing with another team when he left Chicago. The Panthers were based in North Carolina, an alienation of affection state. He should have chosen a home outside state lines. My lawyer advised me to wait until the divorce was finalized before pursuing any action against him. But Jordan, his team, and the NFL went into damage control mode. One evening, a man with a briefcase knocked on my new apartment door. "Sir, I'd like to talk." "Go away," I said, slamming the door and locking it. He pounded relentlessly, so I called the police. They made him leave, but not before he shook his fist at my security camera. Then, the new team owner called. I cut him off before he could start. "Only 4 people have my number." "How did you get it? Does it really matter?" "Yes," I said, hanging up. I went to the phone store and got a new number. It lasted 8 days before I got another call. "Sir, I represent a children's charity. May I have a moment? I already support 3 charities and can't fund another." "Have a good day." "Wait, I'm not asking for a donation. I'm offering you money." "Why?" "The founder and main donor is Jordan Blake." I hung up and blocked the number. They found my new email and sent lengthy messages about how my actions had hurt the charity and caused donations to drop. I called them. "How is this my fault? Your accusations against Jordan have tarnished his reputation and caused him undue suffering. If you publicly forgive him and your wife, it would lessen the public interest in this case. Let me be clear, this man seduced my wife in front of me and about 50 witnesses. His goon tried to stop me. She spent the night with him, and while she won't admit to anything intimate, we all know it happened. Here's the deal: if he publicly admits to having an affair with my wife, knowing she was married, then I'll consider it. Otherwise, no deal. That wouldn't be in anyone's best interest. Can't we persuade you to let this go? This problem isn't going away. It's just going to get worse. If he donates all his money to create time travel, we can talk. Until then, if he thinks things are bad now, just wait a few days. And never contact me again." "What are you doing to me?" I complained to Max and Elise about my frustration with not being able to slam down my cell phone. They took it as a challenge and came up with an idea, an app that mimicked the sound of an old-fashioned phone slamming shut when you hung up. They patented it and charged $1 per download, listing me on the paperwork as the original idea person. With 33 cents per download, it quickly added up to serious money. After 50,000 downloads in just 2 months, I used the earnings to buy a real house instead of staying in an apartment. The kids were thrilled about the new place. It broke my heart to leave them, but every time I saw Sophia, I wished I had dealt with her differently from the start. She was deluded, thinking I would just accept what she had done and move on. Her favorite refrain was, "It was just one night." Yes, it was one night too many. The truth is, you knew I would never let it slide if I found out. That's why you orchestrated your affair with your so-called friends, helping you sneak off with your lover like a thief in the night. And that's exactly what you were, a thief. You stole our future. You and your fool of a lover are to blame. Do you think he's in pain? No, he's probably laughing. He doesn't care that he wrecked a family." Sophia was shocked. I almost never raised my voice, especially not in front of the kids, and I don't think I ever did it to her either. Maybe that was the problem. She mistook my restraint for weakness and thought I wouldn't leave her. The kids didn't handle it well. I sent them to therapy, and it started to help. The therapist didn't belittle their mother but explained that she made a serious mistake and was now facing the consequences. She invited us to separate sessions, and since I was paying, I received summaries. Sophia still denies her guilt and tells the children that it wasn't serious enough to justify a divorce. When your daughter asked about it, Sophia said it was an adult matter she'd understand better in a few years. Your son, only 4, absorbed what he heard in the media. He memorized it and didn't believe her excuses. He felt a lot of anger towards her. During therapy, I answered the kids' questions as honestly as I could. Yes, I'm divorcing your mother because of what you've heard. She broke a promise and a commitment. You know that when you promise something, you have to keep it. As you get older, promises become even more serious. She made those promises in front of 200 people, both legally and spiritually. She knew the consequences of breaking them, but she did it anyway. I still love your mother, but I don't trust her anymore. Trust is crucial. If I promised to pick you up from school every Wednesday and did so for a year, but then missed one day because I wanted to do something else, how long would it take for you to realize you couldn't trust me? Would you believe me if I said it wouldn't happen again? I think I managed to get through to them a little and followed the therapist's advice by avoiding negative comments about their mother. I told them that although our relationship had changed, we both loved them very much. I only talked about their mother when they brought her up. Sophia, on the other hand, did the opposite. She told the kids that she had made a mistake but insisted it wasn't serious enough to end the marriage. She claimed I was just being stubborn and that things would work out in time. The therapist's frustration was palpable. How could you do this to your children? She demanded of Sophia. Your husband has made it clear he wants a divorce, and the kids understand what's happening from their peers. You're refusing to accept that your actions have consequences. I recommend you seek couples counseling, though it's unlikely to fix things. At the very least, it might help you face reality and move on. This is my final session with you. Good luck. Sophia seemed unaffected, brushing off the counseling suggestion. Her new counselor was competent, and the judge mandated 8 sessions. The therapist could cut them short if no progress was made or extend them if necessary. My lawyer tried to shut me down, but I stood up and addressed the judge directly. Your Honor, I need to be straightforward. I have no desire to reconcile with my wife beyond co-parenting. I will attend the mandated sessions, but I refuse to continue beyond 8. That should be adequate. If necessary, you can fine or imprison me, but I want to avoid turning this divorce into a media circus. I'm prepared to speak to the press if needed. Additionally, I request that her lover attend one session to explain why he finds it acceptable to pursue married women and how he justifies his role in this mess. Thank you. My lawyer looked at me in disbelief, while the judge seemed torn between amusement and a reprimand. Sophia looked like she might faint, and her lawyer frantically searched for an objection. The judge finally pounded the gavel. I can't mandate counseling for someone who isn't part of this marriage. I'll draft a letter requesting consideration, but don't expect much. You may request him to appear in court, but that's up to you. Provide a list of therapists or accept one from the court. Sessions will start in 2 weeks, twice a week, to expedite the process. Missed sessions won't be rescheduled, but will be deemed valid. Next case. Sophia wasn't pleased. She confronted me outside the courtroom, desperation in her eyes. This has to end. Please, this isn't what I wanted. I knew talking without legal representation was risky, but I couldn't help myself. What did you think would happen? I thought you'd be angry but still love me enough to move past it. It was just one night. After all we've shared, the family we built, it shouldn't have been worth throwing away for one night. It wasn't just one night. It was a deliberate betrayal of everything we built together. What you did was calculated and completely disrespectful. You left me humiliated in front of our friends, some of whom even helped you sneak away. I would have sworn you loved me and our children. But that trust is gone. We're finished, and no amount of counseling will change that. I'll see you at the first session. Wait, I need a favor. What favor? It's about Jordan. Can you ease up on him? His charity work is suffering because of this. Think about the children. Think about our children, Sophia. Do you think about them when you were with him? I have no sympathy for his charities. His problems are about to get much worse. Do you know something I don't? Her face turned pale. He called me. Did he really? I asked, my tone icy. How did he get your number? Sophia's face flushed crimson. I don't know. I shouldn't have given it to him. It was a mistake, so you admit you gave it to him that night? Was it in case he wanted to continue what he started? I pressed. I didn't mean to, she stammered. I don't know why I gave it to him. I should have known you wouldn't be able to help, I laughed bitterly, shaking my head in disbelief as I got into the car. Sophia's actions had become increasingly foolish and irrational. Amidst the mounting pressure from the league, the team, every football-related organization, and even several sports talk shows, I faced relentless demands to be reasonable. Even my boss, a passionate team fan, pressured me to relent. Eventually, I decided to leave my job. My boss realized too late how my reaction would impact his reputation and attempted to persuade me to stay, but it was too late. I suspected his career might be at risk, especially after I lodged a complaint with corporate HR. It couldn't have happened to a more deserving person. The situation deteriorated to the point where I began documenting every conversation. Initially, I didn't, but soon I realized it was necessary. The sportscaster who had first contacted me that night invited me onto his top-rated radio show. I took the opportunity to drop several bombshells, including snippets from various conversations. One notable moment was when I mentioned a team owner who had outrageously threatened to sue me. The sportscaster could barely contain his amusement. "What are you going to sue me for?" "Telling the truth," I said into the microphone. In this state, it's legal to record conversations without notifying the other party. It's known as one-party consent. Besides, I won't use this conversation in any legal context unless you force my hand. My attorney believes we have grounds to sue you, the team, and the league for emotional distress and mental anguish. Anything else you want to add? The caller hung up abruptly. The segment was picked up by several syndicated shows and briefly made national headlines. After that, I never heard from him again. Mr. Jordan found himself sidelined by the press unless it involved the divorce, which only served to further his frustration. Despite his lawyer's advice to remain silent, he couldn't resist making a colossal mistake. He came after me at my home. I swiftly installed a state-of-the-art security system, ironically, one he had once endorsed. The investment proved worthwhile. One evening, my doorbell camera showed 3 large, menacing figures on my porch, while my kids were inside. I hit the silent alarm button, which notified the police. They called me immediately. "Sir, we received an alarm from your security system." "Is this an emergency?" "Yes," I replied. "There are 3 large men on my porch." The 3 men, who didn't look too pleased, pounded on my door, demanding to be let in. "Sir, we have a patrol car just 4 minutes away," the dispatcher advised. "Do not open the door if you feel unsafe." I thanked them and waited, keeping the storm door locked. After 3.5 minutes, I cautiously opened the door just enough to talk. "What do you want?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "Jordan sent us," one of them growled. "He wants you to drop all legal actions against him immediately. Otherwise, we're here to teach you a lesson in cooperation." "Gentlemen," I said firmly, "you are trespassing. Leave now," the largest man sneered. "Looks like this guy needs convincing," he said to his companions. Before they could force their way in, a commanding voice shouted from behind them. "Police! Stop right there and turn around with your hands up." The big guy looked ready to fight, but his friends managed to talk him down. Soon, they were all on the ground, handcuffed. The sergeant took my report and reviewed the surveillance tapes, charging them with trespassing with intent to cause damage, a much more serious offense. It turned out one of the intruders was a stadium worker, another was a friend of the third man, who was on the team's practice squad and had been promised a spot on the team by Jordan in exchange for this favor, even though Jordan had no authority to make such promises. The others had been offered $1,000 each. Jordan ended up paying their legal fees, which was a significant additional cost. The trespassers pleaded guilty and received hefty fines, which Jordan was obligated to cover. Jordan himself faced court charges for orchestrating the incident. Despite his high profile, he couldn't avoid consequences. His lawyers managed to reduce the charge to a misdemeanor, resulting in a $5,000 fine and 200 hours of community service. TMZ caught him on camera in an orange vest, picking up trash, and the video quickly garnered 600,000 views in a week. Sophia became the most expensive woman Jordan ever pursued. Some of his fans turned against him, and although it wasn't aired on TV, signs appeared in the stands at the start of the new season, affecting his performance. One group displayed a banner that read, "Put someone's wife on the goal line, it'll make him focus." Stadium security removed the banner, but the video of it went viral, amassing 750,000 views in 2 days. Jordan's status as a franchise player dwindled as he saw less playing time, and one sponsor canceled a campaign, effectively ending their partnership. The law of averages caught up with me one night when 4 men ambushed me out of nowhere. They delivered a vicious beating, leaving me with 2 broken fingers, a fractured leg, a cracked cheekbone, and bruised ribs. They knew what they were doing. The whole attack took just 90 seconds. Fortunately, a coworker came out of the office right after me and shouted, scaring them off. I was in an ambulance within 10 minutes and then taken to the hospital for observation due to a concussion that my head throbbed painfully, and I kept drifting in and out of consciousness. At one point, I thought I saw Sophia, but then I blacked out again. When I came to, I was alone. It took 7 days before I could return to work. The police gathered some surveillance images from nearby businesses, but the attackers had taken precautions. They wore large hats and loose clothing, making them unidentifiable and leaving no recognizable features. I recounted my story to the authorities, and they questioned Jordan. He laughed it off, admitting he didn't like me but denying any involvement. Although they were skeptical of his claims, they couldn't pin anything on him without concrete evidence. The situation forced me to give up my weekends with the kids. I was still recovering from my injuries and didn't want them to see me bruised and battered. Sophia was appalled but agreed to let me take a break from seeing them. She even offered to help, but I declined politely. The counseling sessions felt like a never-ending cycle. By the 5th session, the therapist was clearly frustrated. "We've hit a dead end," she said. "Honestly, I don't think we'll make any progress. Sophia, you refuse to acknowledge that what you did was wrong by conventional standards or that it should impact your marriage. You left your husband alone in a public place to spend the night with another man. You even used your friends to keep him from stopping you. If the roles were reversed, and your husband had done this to you, leaving you surrounded by people who were in on it, would you have been understanding?" She paused and then turned to me. "Evan, it's clear that you're not going to reconcile. Your communication indicates that. But let me ask you this, up until the night she left the club, you loved her. She was loyal and steadfast. She insists this was a one-time mistake and promises it won't happen again. Is there any part of you willing to give it another chance?" She signaled to Sophia to start. "Please don't interrupt," she said. "Sophia will speak first, and then you'll have your turn." Sophia took a deep breath, trying to compose herself. "You say I lack remorse, but I do feel remorse. I never imagined this would hurt our marriage to this extent. I knew I had hurt you deeply and that you'd be angry, but I never thought it would lead to this reaction. I'm truly sorry for what I did. I assure you it won't happen again. I understand the gravity of my actions now, and even if you can't fully forgive me, please come home so I can make things right." She finished her speech and looked at me, waiting for my response. I took a moment before speaking. "Sophia, you can say whatever you want, but deep down, you knew how much you hurt us. You knew I wouldn't just overlook it and say, it's just one mistake. If I forgave you this time, you might not actively seek out another affair, but if the opportunity arose, you'd take it, knowing I'd forgive you. I won't put myself in that position again. The blatant disrespect and the destruction of trust in our marriage are too significant. Even if you were gone for just 30 minutes, I'd wonder if you were with him or someone else." I looked directly at her. "Let me be clear. We're not staying married. I'm divorcing you. You can drag this out and use every delay tactic, but eventually, the court will grant the divorce. Please don't make it worse by prolonging this. Turning to the counselor, I asked, "Are we done?" The counselor sighed. "Yes. I'll submit my report to the court by Wednesday, stating that the marriage is irreparably broken, recommending that the divorce be granted." Sophia's eyes filled with desperation. "No, I'm not giving up. Please, think about the children." "I am thinking about the children," I said. "I think about them every day, even though I don't have them." I turned to Sophia. "If the kids were so important to you, how many times did you think about them while you were at his mansion? Was it really worth it for you? For the rest of your family, who's still living in the real world, it certainly wasn't. Face it, Sophia, you messed up, pun intended. See you in court." By the end of it all, everyone was completely drained. Sophia's lawyer looked weary, my lawyer was exhausted, the judge seemed utterly spent, and even the bailiff appeared aged from the process. After reviewing the therapist's report, the judge cut off any more attempts to stall and declared our divorce finalized. Sophia walked out silently, and my lawyer, grinning from ear to ear, finally showed his satisfaction. The next day, Mr. Jordan was hit with a lawsuit for alienation of affection. He didn't have to sign with the Panthers or buy that house in North Carolina after all. The uproar was significant, his reaction was nothing short of epic. "He can't do that," Jordan's lawyer protested. "Unfortunately, he can," came the resigned response. "It's still legal in North Carolina, despite being an outdated law that should have been repealed long ago. My advice is to settle quickly to avoid more public scrutiny." Everyone in Jordan's sphere, his lawyers, charity heads, team officials, even the NFL commissioner, begged for an out-of-court settlement. The offers kept increasing, and even my lawyer suggested I accept, but I was resolute. I wasn't interested in the money. I wanted to drag him through the mud. Lawyers investigators managed to get the bouncer and the team leader to confess that they had been paid to assist Jordan. He tried to avoid court appearances but was forced to testify multiple times. Once, he attempted to skip a Friday appearance by claiming he needed to prepare for a rare Saturday game. The judge, who wasn't a football fan, replied, "Take a later flight and be in this courtroom tomorrow." It seemed like the judge had scheduled us late just to get under Jordan's skin. Jordan's charm and his lawyer's efforts to stack the jury with women didn't go as planned. They managed to get 7 women on the jury, but 3 were over 50 and happily married, 1 was a lesbian, 2 were young and single, and the last was a recently divorced blonde. Of the men, 2 were young and single, and 3 were married and middle-aged. Jordan initially denied any involvement with Sophia but, when confronted with the evidence, admitted she had visited his house. He then claimed they hadn't had any intimate relations and that he was protecting her from her abusive husband. Sophia wrote a letter trying to explain her side, which we presented in court. Nobody bought the abusive husband story. The final blow came during Sophia's court appearance. She confessed to having slept with Jordan 5 times, not the 3 or 4 she had previously mentioned. The jury deliberated for less than an hour before returning with a verdict. The trial also included a full financial disclosure, revealing that Jordan was worth $96 million after 7 years in the NFL. My lawyer was almost in shock when the court awarded me $30 million, setting a new state record far surpassing the previous high of $8.8 million. The law allowed for up to 1/3 of the defendant's assets to be awarded in cases like this, though such high-profile cases were rare. Efforts to repeal this law in the state legislature had failed. Initially, Jordan's lawyer planned to appeal the verdict, but he eventually persuaded Jordan to settle, dropping the appeal. There was a loophole in the law that allowed for adjustments if Jordan's fortune increased during the appeal process. Just after the verdict, Jordan received a substantial contract payment. The day following my award, my attorney filed for additional lawsuits on behalf of other married and divorced individuals. 2 marriages had ended in divorce, 1 was on the brink, and another couple joined in seeking a settlement. The divorced wives, including Sophia, settled quickly for $4 million each. Despite these settlements, Jordan was still left with tens of millions, but the saga wasn't over. It emerged that Jordan had an affair with a teammate's wife and a one-night stand with another's. When this scandal broke, several players deliberately underperformed during a game, resulting in Jordan getting punched 3 times, the last of which led to him being placed under concussion protocol. It became clear he could no longer continue with the Panthers, and he was traded to Green Bay. Although he played well, he was not at his peak. The Panthers refused to honor his contract due to a morals clause, leaving him with only 20% of what he could have earned. Green Bay offered him a 1-year contract. After that expired, he moved to Denver for another 1 year, $4 million deal. He performed adequately but not impressively. When that contract ended, he signed a 2-year deal with Cincinnati for $2.5 million, which included strict morals clauses. His performance declined further, and Cincinnati chose not to renew his contract. By the end of his time there, he was 34, injured, and retired to host a radio show with the Bengals for 2 years. After that, he faded into obscurity. Despite everything, Jordan still had about $50 million, a fraction of what he might have had without the lawsuits and bad publicity. He bought 2 car dealerships in California and seemed to have returned to his old ways. One disgruntled spouse took it personally, leaving him with a noticeable limp. I saw a "Where Are They Now?" feature in a sports magazine showing him at the opening of his 3rd dealership. He had gained weight, shaved his head to hide his baldness, and despite everything, his past millions would likely still attract women. I considered forwarding the article to Sophia. She had received half of our savings and could keep the house until our youngest turned 18. At that point, she could either buy it or we would sell it and split the profits. She also received child support based on my former salary, and if our kids needed anything extra, they got it. I bought her a new SUV after her previous car was totaled, ensuring safe transportation for the kids. I sometimes wondered if my multi-million-dollar award bothered her, given that she had no access to it. However, Sophia wasn't destitute. She received a settlement from her lover and half of my share of an app created by Nanette and Max, which was based on an idea I had while we were married. The app quickly became a sensation, with popular phrases like "go to hell" and "don't ever call me again," each priced at $5. Sophia earned about $30,000 annually from the app over the next 3 years before its appeal began to wane. I invested my share into our children's college fund, joking that each use of those phrases contributed to their education. Jordan, however, paid a hefty price for his actions. With lawsuits, contract losses, and a tarnished reputation, he likely lost between $110 and $170 million, making Sophia one of his most expensive mistakes. Sophia's divorce came less than a year after ours, and Hannah split from her husband 18 months later. The women who had cheated on their spouses all divorced before my own divorce was finalized. The rest of the couples managed to stay together, but I distanced myself from them and ceased communication. 6 years have passed, and I still occasionally find myself reaching for Sophia in my dreams, longing for our pre-affair life. Though I haven't remarried, feeling somewhat reserved around women, I did venture into dating again. I soon discovered that many women were primarily interested in my financial status, which made me extremely cautious. My children have developed a deep passion for soccer. My son plays casually with friends, while my daughter, who is highly skilled, takes it more seriously. Her best friend, who is slightly better, led me to get to know her and her mother, Scarlett, through numerous sleepovers. Scarlett faced her own struggles with confidence due to her ex, who vanished and stopped paying child support without warning. I tracked him down, had him arrested, and the judge ordered him to pay all outstanding support within 2 years or face jail time. This eased Scarlett's financial burden, though she was unaware of my involvement. She began to smile more, upgraded her wardrobe, and the transformation was remarkable. Her newfound confidence attracted attention, especially after she started wearing tight shorts to soccer games. I became her protector, and we grew closer. The girls often paired us together at events, and we began holding hands. They frequently stayed over, with the girls sharing a room and Scarlett in the guest room. My financial stability allowed me to purchase a lovely house on 40 acres, complete with a pond, pasture, and barn. The previous owners had a passion for horses, so we soon filled the barn with them. Initially, I was wary, as I had little experience with horses and found them intimidating. Scarlett, who had grown up on a farm, found my fear amusing. After 5 months, I agreed to let her find horses for the kids and herself, covering all expenses while she taught them to ride and care for the animals. I agreed to pay but drew the line at shoveling manure. Despite some grumbling, Scarlett insisted that if the kids weren't willing to take care of their horses, we would have to get rid of them. It's unclear when we started making joint decisions about the kids, but Scarlett naturally took the lead, and I followed. That Christmas, she surprised me with a horse, a big pinto with a playful look. She finally persuaded me to start riding with them, threatening to cut back on our time together if I didn't. This concerned the kids, especially as the girls were entering puberty and confided their worries to her. My son had missed having a mother figure during the divorce and struggled with various issues, and Scarlett provided a comforting presence. I took up horseback riding and eventually tackled the task of managing the manure. Scarlett had us pile up the waste, later using it as compost for her garden. I can't recall when we decided to start a vegetable patch, but one day we bought tools and a cultivator. Scarlett struggled with it, so I took over, much to her frustration. After leveling the plot, she could manage it, but whenever we needed to expand, I was called back into action. The kids pitched in, motivated by the prospect of enjoying the harvest. Scarlett told them the story of the red hen to teach them about teamwork. After dropping the girls off at soccer camp, I asked if she'd consider dating again. Her face flushed, but then she laughed. I'm seeing someone. He's nice, though sometimes a bit clueless. Jealousy flared up inside me, and she noticed, smiling. Silly, I'm dating you. We spend so much time together, dining out, watching movies, and going on outings with the kids. I don't even know why I keep an apartment. We practically live together, spending 5 days a week with you. It's all just family activities. Exactly, I agreed. We've become a family. Your kids already call me Mom when you're not around, and Kelsey plans to take you to school on Father-Daughter Day. It's fortunate she's at a different school now, otherwise, scheduling would be a nightmare. She squeezed my hand. It's a good thing your son went to science camp. I love you, honey, and I've felt this way for a while. I know your past was painful, but when was the last time you were with another woman? Can't remember. Neither can I. Maybe it's time for a change, she said. Decide now if you want me. Turn right toward your house if you do, otherwise, turn left and take me to my apartment. It's your call. As we approached the intersection, I noticed the left turn signal was out. Looks like the left turn signal is busted, I said. Guess we'll go right then. Don't want any accidents. Her smile was radiant. There might be a collision, well, a verbal one. The kids at camp might overhear everything. Let's head home quickly, I replied, just before turning into our driveway. Good thing we have extra bedrooms. Kelsey can pick one. She tightened her grip on my arm. No need for that. The girls want to share a room for now. Maybe we'll need the extra bedroom someday. Once the garage door closed, we embraced briefly. When we pulled apart, she held my face and spoke sincerely. I know about your past. I'm not into clubbing, but when I commit fully. I promise never to repeat the mistakes of the past in any future relationship. You have my word. Is that sufficient? I looked into her loving eyes and smiled. Sufficient. Later, she suggested we sign a prenup. After my outburst, she simply chuckled and dropped the topic. Sophia faced considerable challenges after the public fallout and the attention-grabbing alienation of affection lawsuit. The burden weighed heavily on her. She left her previous job, citing the stress of the situation. Financially secure thanks to her share of Jordan's assets, she took nearly a year off before joining a new, fledgling firm. Sophia channeled $1 million into a startup, snagging a 10% share. That decision proved wise as the company surged in value. Curious about their progress, I took a deeper look and saw their potential, despite their initial struggles. I quietly invested $5 million in our children's names when the company went public, leaving Sophia with the voting proxies. Despite our past, she remained focused on our kids' well-being. Her significant stake led her to the vice president role. The company eventually split, but Sophia thrived even with her demanding schedule. Our children visited her frequently, and she cherished the time with them. Scarlett, 6 years my junior, agreed to start a family as part of our commitment. Our son, Daniel, named after my father, was almost 2, offering Scarlett a break. The older kids adored him, and Scarlett embraced her role as a full-time mother, managing the needs of our 3 teenagers and our toddler. Occasionally, I reflected on how different things might have been if Sophia hadn't betrayed me, especially during the quiet nights when Scarlett and I found comfort in each other, something I never experienced with Sophia, who had always kept her distance. At Daniel's graduation, Scarlett's husband connected with mine over their son's friendship, highlighting the contrast between our relationships. Sophia's eyes held a somber glint as she said, "Can we talk?" "Sure," I replied. "What's on your mind?" "I owe you something, an apology that's long overdue," she began. "It took me 4 years of therapy to understand the depth of the pain I caused. I'm truly sorry. Even after all that counseling, I can't fully explain why I acted the way I did or why I thought it was acceptable. I was consumed by anger and couldn't grasp the full impact of my actions. At the time, it seemed like a small thing. I seized an opportunity with someone famous and did it without a second thought. I thought you'd be proud of me." She looked at me with a rueful smile. "It wasn't until my therapist made me consider how you would have felt that it truly hit me. Remember our celebrity crush lists? Anne Hathaway was always my top pick." I smiled. "Yeah, she's still great." My therapist asked me to imagine if you had the chance to be with her, left with her, and then come back as if nothing happened. Initially, I brushed it off, thinking you'd never do that. But the more I thought about it, the more I felt a surge of anger. That's when I realized I'd done the same thing to you. So, here's my apology. I was wrong. You had every right to leave me. If the roles were reversed, I wouldn't have trusted you again, no matter what you said. If only I had known then what I know now, I would have acted differently. I appreciate that, Sophia," I said, feeling a sense of closure. Reflecting on it, I realized that some things can't be undone. Rebuilding after such a betrayal is tough. With Sophia, I had a lot, but with Scarlett, I feel like I have everything I need.